Hello boys and girls, it's Aunty Mimmi here. Today our fun book is called What a Mess Goes to School. Sounds fun, doesn't it? If you've not already subscribed to the channel, please do so now. Then sit back, get comfortable and let's begin. It was an unusually warm and sunny Sunday in March, the sort of day which makes everybody feel younger and happier. Everybody, that is, except the puppy What a Mess. The following morning he was going to school for the first time. School, away from his mother, amongst strangers, not knowing how he was supposed to behave, where to go, what to do. He howled when his mother told him, just yelped and yelped until the humans who lived in his house thought he had hurt his paw and gave him a large piece of old cheese. He was very fond of food, so he forgot all about school until he had eaten the cheese. But then he remembered, and the fear and sadness returned. The family had gone off to church, taking his mother with them in the car, and What a Mess was curled up in what he called his misery hole. This was a hole in the middle of the compost heap which he dug whenever he was miserable. It was a bit smelly, but was cosy and warm. And he was such a scruffy animal that nobody could tell which bit was puppy and which bit was compost, so nobody knew he was there. I don't want to go to school tomorrow, he whimpered. I'm frightened of school, but what can I do? He'd never felt so lonely in his life. If only I had one friend, just one fellow dog who would understand and then he remembered he did have a friend, a strange little mongrel dog whom he had met at the seaside when he was on holiday. That's it, What a Mess cried, leaping out of the compost. I'll go and find my friend from the seaside. He'll understand and help me. He had no idea where the seaside was, but he reckoned that if he ran far enough, he was bound to come to it. He knew it was a long way away, so he decided to start immediately. All Afghan hounds, even fat, lonely puppies like What a Mess, can jump well, but the front gate looked frighteningly high. What a Mess backed away from the gate until his hind quarters were pressed against the fence at the bottom of the garden, and he could back no further. Then, with a great bark to encourage himself, he began to run up. As he gathered speed and his coat streamed out behind him, he looked like a greyhound wearing a fur coat 2 sizes too big for him. He was going like a rocket, but he kept his eye on the gate, and at exactly the right moment he went for lift-off and launched himself high into the air. He cleared the gate easily. It was then, in mid-air, that he saw the bus. It was a huge bus, and it was coming fast. Its horn was blaring as the driver tried to warn the puppy, but too late. What a Mess did not make a graceful landing. He sort of splodged down on his tummy with all 4 legs spread-eagled. But he was travelling so fast that he shot across the road and the wheels of the bus missed him by a whisker. He hit the opposite curb, somersaulted into the air and came to rest against a fence, dazed and winded. He was lying there, getting his breath back and wondering whether he had broken anything, when he felt an odd, prickly feeling in his front legs and under his chin. and he heard a small voice say, "You saved my life, ta very much, but for you I would have been squashed. Oh yes, bust flat I would have been." He looked down. Between his paws lay a little animal covered in spines. It had a very pink nose and tiny, very pink feet. "It's the hot weather, that's the problem," said the voice. "Woke me up from my winter sleep too early. I got halfway across the road and was too tired to go further, so I lay down for a bit of a ziz. Saw a bus coming, couldn't move, bye me, I thought. Then whoosh, you scooped me up just in time. I'm a hedgehog." "How do you do?" said What a Mess, who was still very dazed, but had been well brought up. "My full name is What a Mess, but my nickname is Prince Emir of Kingdom." "No, the other way round." "Oh no, I couldn't possibly call you Prince Emir of Kingdom. No, the other way round. I'll just call you Watty." "And may I ask your name?" said the puppy politely. "Haven't got one." What a Mess in his weak state suddenly felt terribly sorry about this. "I'll give you one. Are you a boy or a girl?" "I don't know. What's the difference?" What a Mess thought. "I'm not sure. My mother is a girl, so perhaps girls are the ones who have babies." "Oh, I like that. Can I be a girl, please?" "I suppose so. You talk more like a boy, but if you like, I'll call you Cynthia." "Marvellous. Well, Watty," said the hedgehog, eyelids drooping. "Yes, Cynthia," said the puppy. "I must crawl back to my leaves in the wood and finish my winter sleep. I can't thank you enough for your heroic deed. Perhaps one day I'll be able to do the same for you. Cheery bye, all the best, happy days." What a Mess watched the little hedgehog make its sleepy way along the fence and back towards the open country, and then painfully and carefully he crossed the road to wait by the gate for the family to return. Mrs. Tibbett's stables, cattery and puppy training academy was only a few fields away, so next morning What a Mess was walked there on a lead. At least that was the idea, but he was in such a state of nerves that the little girl of the house had to pick him up and carry him. He chewed her hair all the way there. There were 8 other puppies in What a Mess class, but he was by far the youngest. The teacher was Mrs. Wentworth Blaze, a frighteningly large lady with a booming voice and huge red hands. When it came to What a Mess's turn for obedience training, she dug her fingers into the small of his back and boomed, "Sit!" The puppy closed his eyes in terror and was sick into the top of her gumboot. The puppies were awarded plus marks for things which they did well and minus marks for mistakes. By Thursday it became clear that What a Mess did not understand anything which Mrs. Wentworth Blaze told him and was bottom of the class. His report card read, "Prince Emir of Khinjan, Afghan Hound, plus marks, nil, minus marks. On the command, stay, leaping forward and nearly strangling himself on his choke chain and having to be given the kiss of life by the vet, minus 10. Being given a cardboard identity card reading 4 to wear on his collar and eating it, minus 6. Disappearing before Mrs. Wentworth Blazen's lesson on obeying the whistle and being found hiding behind a chicken, minus 8. Persistently biting the tail of the dog in front during walking proudly in circle practice, minus 9. After 4 days of tuition, failing to understand any of the following commands: sit, stand, lie down, get up, stay, go, to heal, fetch, seek, walkies, etc., -35. During walking to heel on lead, practice on the command sit, running round and round Mrs. Wentworth Blaze, so that the lead bound her legs tightly, together causing her to topple over, -500. Total to date, -568 marks. But Watermess did not mind being bottom of the class. To his surprise, he found that school, apart from the lessons, was terrific fun. During playtime, all the puppies mucked about in a field, and Watermess was very popular with the others because he was the best at inventing games. One of his friends was a clever little terrier who told Watermess not to bother with trying to understand what was shouted at him, but to follow close behind and just copy what the terrier did. Watermess began to get a little better at the exercises. "Oh, Mother," he said on Thursday evening, "why didn't you tell me that school would be so enjoyable? It's much nicer than hanging around the house with nobody to play with." Then came the shock. The next morning all the puppies were lined up and told that it was time for their exams. Each puppy was to be given a different initiative test. Any puppy who failed the test would have to leave the school immediately. Watermess was in despair. As each test was different, he could not copy what his terrier friend did. He could not bear to watch as the other puppies happily fetched things to the whistle and obeyed commands and walked on the lead without pulling and all the other clever things which Watermess could never do. He could only hope against hope that his test would be an easy one. It was not an easy one. For an Afghan with a very sharp nose and no sense of direction, it was impossible. There was a plank of wood propped up in the grass. It had a little doorway cut into it. Watermess was given an old leather cricket ball. His task was to nose the ball through the doorway in 30 seconds. He tried, of course. He gave the ball a big push with his nose in the direction of the plank, but the ball was heavy and would not go straight. It rolled away to one side each time he pushed. Furious with it, he got his nose under the ball and gave a great heave. The ball sailed through the air and fell to the ground behind the plank. Racing against time, Watermess galloped round to retrieve it. There behind the plank lay the cricket ball, and beside it stood a little spiny creature, about the same colour, except for tiny pink feet and a little pink nose. Watermess blinked. "Cynthia," he gulped. "What, yo, Watty," said the little hedgehog. "My turn to do you a good deed. Quick, give me a push." And she rolled herself into a tight ball. Watermess gave the hedgehog a little nudge with his nose, and it rolled swiftly round the board, straightening up and came to a halt close to the doorway. Watermess bounded after it. The hedgehog unrolled slightly. "So I can see where I'm going," she explained. "One more push, please." Watermess gave another little nudge. The hedgehog ball rolled sideways as the cricket ball had done, but turned sharply left towards the hole, moved a little right to correct the swing, and, to excited barks from all Watermess friends, rolled triumphantly through the doorway. Watermess was too excited to sleep that night. He lay in his basket thinking and rather noisily chewing a bone which he had been given by the family for passing his test and being accepted by the school. Besides him in his basket was a saucer of milk. He heard the cat door flap open, and a few moments later there was a prickly feeling in the paw, which was next to the saucer. He looked down, and a small pink nose was in the milk. I can't get to sleep for the noise you're making with that bone, his mother said a little crossly. I think the most important thing in your life is food. No, said the puppy, it's friends. Well, friends and food. Or perhaps it's food and then friends. It's difficult to say which comes first, but on the whole, I'd say... But What a Mess never did say. He fell asleep instead. Well, that was a wonderful fun book today, wasn't it, boys and girls? I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. As always, be kind to one another, look after one another, and try and have some fun every single day. Until next time, bye-bye.